So, oh look, it's me. I'm going to show you an interesting map. This is a map of Kendall Square, where CIC was founded now 17 years ago. And so, why am I standing here? So, CIC is a shared space and community that in the Boston and Cambridge area, we're in 3 buildings, and we have 1,500 companies where 3,500 people go to work every single day building the best and next future of everything. And so if somebody's doing something really, really interesting in Boston on some sort of topic, there's probably somebody working on that idea at CIC. So that makes us part of the world's densest innovation supercluster. And I just made up that term, and I really like it. So Boston is not just a city upon a hill, it's an innovation supercluster. And there's more venture capital under management located in our buildings in Boston and Cambridge than there is in the United Kingdom, or frankly in most countries. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Cambridge and Boston. So downtown Boston, Kendall Square. If you had to think for a second and you're not in the real estate business and say, hey, which one of these has more expensive real estate? Well, it turns out, you might be surprised, but it's actually Kendall Square. Kendall Square is about Hong Kong levels in terms of real estate costs. So the average asking rent for new office space in Kendall Square is now north of $90 a square foot. While here in Boston's Downtown Crossing Financial District and the Back Bay, the 2 most expensive neighborhoods in the city, coming up with the Seaport rivaling them, you're looking at about $55 to $60 a foot. So the place where you want to be if you want to build your company, as evidenced by capitalism and people spending the most amount of money to put their company there, is Kendall Square. But parking is an interesting question, right? How much does parking cost in Kendall versus Boston? So in downtown Boston, a parking spot in this neighborhood, and I know because our Boston office is 2 buildings down at 50 Milk Street. It's that way. I don't know. I'm indoors. It's in the neighborhood. So it's parking is $550 a month per spot, which means that for most folks, it's actually more than the amount of money they would pay for their car payment. That's for the right to park downtown. But in Kendall Square, it's under $300. So between $285 and $300 will get you a monthly parking spot in Kendall Square. And so what the hell? Why is the real estate so expensive, but the parking so cheap? And it turns out there was an interesting Boston Globe story in 2012 that said that between 2000 and 2010, while Kendall Square added 4.6 million square feet of office space, creating the space for that dense innovation supercluster we all know and love, the vehicle traffic actually dropped by 14%. That's not relative traffic, that is absolute traffic. So the absolute number of cars dropped tremendously as thousands of people flooded to work and live in the neighborhood. Well, that's kind of an interesting thing. So what does that say? If the office space for people is expensive, but the parking space for cars is cheap, maybe it's because the thing that we really value is our brains and not our cars. So let me talk to you very quickly about the year 2000. It was a really, really interesting year with a presidential election. The popular vote winner didn't win the Electoral College and wasn't elected president. I don't know if you guys remember what happened afterwards. But there was something else very interesting that happened. In the 2000 election, the popular vote winner, a guy by the name of Al Gore, won 659 counties in the United States. Now, counties aren't people. Counties don't vote, but they do tell us where people live. So he won 659 counties, and George W. Bush won 2,397 counties. Why did these numbers matter? Because the 659 counties won by Al Gore represented 54% of the then American economy, and the ones won by George Bush represented 46%. So in today's election, Hillary Clinton won 472 counties. So almost 200 counties fewer than Al Gore, but those counties represented 64% of America's economy today. So in the 16 years, and that means, just because I want to make sure everyone's following along, that means that the 2,584 counties won by Donald Trump represent 36% of the American economy, America's futures in our cities. And so what that means, according to some very interesting data from Brookings, the Brookings Institute and the Kauffman Foundation, if you look at where does job growth come from in the U.S., over over a significant amount of time, the U.S. generates about 3 million jobs a year and loses about 1 million jobs a year, for a net growth of about 2 million jobs. And every single one of the new jobs comes from new companies. Every single one of them is generated at companies that have 5 fewer people, or that have been around for less than 5 years. So that means that the economy is here, we're building it, and the economy of the future is about 3 things. It's about linkage, it's about intelligence, it's about density. Again, think of how much people are paying for rent. So transportation is not only a business need, but it is an opportunity challenge. The city is our lab, and as this election will demonstrate, we have to go back to our labs and tinker some more. But I want to tell you 4 things. Cost is our enemy. Density is our friend, motion is our challenge, and transportation is our solution. So we have to build cities where people connect better, because the linkage of the people and their intelligence in a dense environment is how we're going to build the economy of the future, and transportation is absolutely key for that. We don't know where the next crazy idea will come from. If you go back to that year 2000 and you look forward and you think about who's going to build the most interesting car company, and you create in your brain a mental profile of who is that person? Who is going to build the next most interesting car company? Would you imagine in your own brain that that person will have previously built an online payments company? And I think the answer is no. And we don't know where the future is coming from and who will contribute to it. And transportation is how we get our smartest people together to build and brainstorm on those ideas. So empowering the next generation of innovators is the only way forward. New companies will build the economy, and transportation will get us there. Thank you very much.